How to create a viral content, especially when you are not creating cat videos and you have something valuable to give to your audience. And you know that your audience does exist, but it's just that you can't reach them. Creating a viral content is not luck. It is science. And we have today with us the expert in digital marketing, Brendan Kane himself. Now, Brandon has been on the show before when we talked about his book, Hook Point. You can watch his video here. But today we will be talking about how to go viral. Now, if you've not watched the previous video, so Brandon has helped many Fortune 500 companies for their digital media marketing. And he has also helped many celebrities such as Rihanna and Taylor Swift. He has written 2 best-selling books, and he himself has created 1 million followers in 1 month on Facebook, the details of which are in his first book, 1 million followers, and the second book, Hook Point, was another bestseller. Today, we have none other than Brendan Kane with us on our show once again. So Brendan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to connect with you again and everybody that's tuning into this.
Thank you, Brendan. First of all, before we get into the virality content, tell us more about this new project and how you're helping people to go viral with your content.
Yeah, I would say that this isn't something that's new. It's something that we've kind of been working on for the better part of my career. And, over the past 6 or 7 years, we've really been producing this process that we have, but it's just become more important as more people have gotten onto social media. So when I first started in 2005, maybe there's 1 million people on social media producing content. Today, there's 4 billion producing 100 billion messages that are published into the world every day. So when we think about communicating in today's world, whether it's on social media or offline, it's very competitive. And even if you have followers, it doesn't mean you're reaching all those followers with your content. So understanding how to effectively create content that gets reach and distribution, quote unquote, going viral, and there's different levels of what virality means, has become critically important, because it's not just about gaining an audience, it's being able to reach that audience and also to be able to continue to scale your message beyond the people that are following your accounts.
And when it comes to scale, you're like grabbing attention and holding that attention and monetizing it. And in the Hook Point, we spoke about it. It's all the social media platforms. They want people to be on their platforms. So holding attention is really key. Yes.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of talk about the algorithms, and the algorithms are ultimately what cause reach and distribution of content. And there's a lot of myths out about the algorithms, one of which is that they're suppressing your reach on purpose in order to get you to pay for reach. And that's not the case, because then nobody would ever go viral. So as you mentioned, the algorithms, and we don't have to dive into the science because I'm not a scientist or understand the complete technical know-how of it, but the most important thing is that understanding what is the core business model of these platforms, and that is user retention, meaning the longer people spend on these platforms consuming content, the more ads they can serve, the more profit they generate. On top of that, it keeps them off of competitors' networks. So these algorithms are really designed to keep people on the platform longer. So they're looking for content that can grab and hold attention for as long as possible with the widest possible audience.
And when we are talking about algorithms, we're talking about all different platforms, because they have some way or form they want you to be on their platform, whether it is a text-based platform or it is a video such as YouTube or Facebook or anything, right? It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the big platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. They fundamentally have the same business goals, and their algorithms, in a sense, work in very similar ways from a macro level. Now, from a micro level, there's many nuances in there, but I would assume we don't deal a lot with text-based platforms. But we focus on the big major social media platforms, and they all follow pretty much the same principles.
Yeah, of course. And in your latest works, I have got an opportunity to read through some of the slides, the viral content process. Tell us a bit more about what exactly is. You have 3 stages to it, how to make your content go viral. I watched it in one of your videos also. So tell us a little bit more about that viral content, how to create it. What's the process?
Well, it's as you mentioned, it's a creative process, and it's a process that's backed by about 60 billion views and 100 million followers and $1 billion in revenue for the projects that we worked on. And the core and most important part of that process is research and insights, where most people in creating content, they're operating off of brand guidelines, or they're just diving into the ideation and just creating ideas and creating content, which typically doesn't work for 99% of brands out there, because again, there's so much competition. There's 4 billion content creators out in the planet. So there's a lot of nuance that goes into telling stories in today's world. So our process is backed by research and insights, where we go off in study content. We study content creators, viral formats, viral brands. And what we do is we dissect the nuances that cause virality and detract from virality. And these nuances have little to do with the content, but more around the context. So any subject matter can be made to go viral. So like most people say, oh, I have a very small niche, or my product isn't sexy, or my industry isn't sexy, it's not going to go viral. Well, there's plenty of examples of everything going viral: taxes, insurance, real estate, medical. So again, it's less about the content, the underlying baseline of it, and more about the context. So our process, as I mentioned, is deeply rooted in research. And what we're doing is we're looking at these performance indicators around content of how the top breakout performing content creators and formats are succeeding at virality based upon how they're telling their stories. So we're looking at things like pacing, tonality, number of edits, first 3 seconds, captions, title cards, things of that nature, to determine how people are best telling story that lead to virality, give your best chance of success. So that's where, in all of the analysis that we've done in our team, we have a team of analysts that are doing analysis and research every day. We find that virality can really be engineered. It's not luck. It can be engineered if you are really studying what's working and what's not working on these platforms.
So when you're talking about a research and content, is it the first step, which is grabbing attention, or are you talking about how long the viral content is holding attention, or how are you?
We're looking at both elements.
Yeah. So, but when you are creating, let's say somebody who's creating something new, and for them, the first challenge is to grab attention, right? So people, let's say it's a YouTube video, and then YouTube should give enough impression for them. And if that is not happening, that means they're not able to grab attention. So how do you focus your research only on the grabbing attention part?
Well, okay, so there's two things. When you say YouTube not giving enough impressions, it can be because, yes, it's not grabbing attention, but it could be just as much as it's not holding attention. So we don't, and I'll definitely talk about grabbing attention, but we don't look at it in a vacuum to say, oh, we're only going to focus on grabbing attention, we're only going to focus on holding attention, because the two have to play hand in hand together in order to be successful on these platforms. It's almost like saying, we are going to make the best movie trailer ever for a movie that is completely horrible, and expect the movie to have success. It's like, if you sit down, and I'm sure this has happened to most of us, you see this trailer, it looks amazing, you sit down, and the movie is horrible. And 30 years ago, before social media, you could get away with that, but with social media today and everybody being an online critic, you can't. But I think it's a great question, and it's one of the performance drivers that we look at. And one of the biggest mistakes that people are making as it pertains to grabbing attention, specifically as it pertains to social media and organic social media, is they're operating off of the paradigm of creating content pre-social media. So what we're taught pre-social media is we have a very specific audience. So we're going to create a very specific piece of content to our core demographic. The challenge is, again, going back to what we said about the algorithms have billions of content to choose from. So what they really care about is content that they could see to tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people around the world and still hold attention. They're not going to overwork themselves to try and distinguish your intent with the creative for a specific audience, because they've got so much choice. So we call that performance driver the generalist approach. How do we make our content, our message, our expertise interesting and make people care that may not otherwise even think about us, our brand, our products or services, or niche or expertise? So to give you some prime examples, there is a content creator, Graham Stephan, who teaches finance to millennials.
Mhm.
So he uses this generalist approach because typically finance is not a sexy subject. It's
Right.
not something that you would expect to go viral. So his most viewed video is how I bought a Tesla for $78.
Right.
So what he's doing there is it's an amazing hook that most people would want to know
Yeah.
what that is. And it's bringing people this in. And he's a great storyteller as well. He's not using clickbait or things like that. Versus if he were to create a video saying, hey, I'm going to break down the financing options and the best ways to finance a car. Like that is for a very specific niche audiences. There's a doctor, Dr. Mike, who's got, I think, like 6 or 7 million subscribers. What does he do? His most viewed videos are Real Doctor Reacts to Grey's Anatomy, Real Doctor Reacts to The Good Doctor. And those videos have over 20 million views because anybody would want to see, well, how does this doctor react to these TV shows versus typical doctors will say, let me break down the 10 symptoms of this type of disease or 10 ways to prevent cancer or things like that we've probably heard many times, or it's very dry, or most people are not that health conscious. And one final example, and again, this applies to people who think, well, I have a very specific audience that I want to drive business off of. There is a luxury real estate agent named Ryan Serhant. He sells properties in Manhattan that are $10 million plus. He's even represented the most expensive property in Manhattan that's $250 million. So his core audience of what drives his business is very small. However, he gets this generalist principle and he creates videos that are digestible for the largest possible audience. So he creates a video, I'll take you on a tour of a $7 million closet. I'll take you on a tour of a $250 million home. So again, what that means is that everybody would be interested in what it is, but he doesn't dilute his expertise. He still is subtextually playing to his core audience. So it's almost in his perspective, for every 100,000 views he generates, maybe 1 to 10 of those views out of 100,000 are his core target audience. However, because he's getting millions and millions of views a month, he's playing a game and winning a game that none of his other competitors are doing. And he is still selling these luxury properties off that content that he is creating. So again, this is a long-winded answer to a very simple question. And the reason it's a long-winded answer is it's complex in that the biggest mistake that people are making is a macro communication mistake where we have to be looking at it from a generalist approach. How do we make everybody care what we have to say while still on a subtextual level playing to our core target demographic?
So this, all the examples that you've given are some of the very popular content creators. Is it?
But that's why they're popular.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm going to the ones who are not so popular, right? So somebody who's just started and is for example, let's take YouTube for argument's sake. Is YouTube going to give the same number of impression for a new creator versus to somebody who has been established? So what are the chances for somebody who's new?
No, it's why would they? Why would they give somebody unproven the same chance as somebody that's proven? Now, that's not to say that they're not giving you any shot at all. They are giving you a shot. Like, I'll give you a prime example is like we worked with a large vitamin supplement company. And we created a YouTube channel from scratch. The first video that we created on a channel with 0 subscribers did about 10,000 views in the first week. So it didn't really take off, but it did okay, and the algorithm in YouTube saw that it was performing. So they kept testing it in different suggested videos. And then 6 months later, it jumped to 9 million views. Wow. So YouTube recognized that that piece of content was good, even with the minimal reach that they gave us. So they kept testing it until it found, that path to real scale. So just because you're starting out, or even if you've done practices that have led to low results in the past, you can still engineer that success because these algorithms understand that we are their core product. They want to be our best friend. We just have to demonstrate that. And a lot of people will use these excuses again that the algorithms are suppressing my reach to get me to pay for it, or they've shadow banned me, or these other things that 99% of the times is not the case. It's the cases that their content is not really playing to their goals and they need to just get better at producing their content and understanding and layering the things that drive success.
Let me ask a platform specific question, Brandon. You know, the LinkedIn, now that LinkedIn also people have followers, and LinkedIn also decides, you know, which of your posts they should, let's say you have 100,000 followers, not all followers see all your posts. So is it different on different platforms to how you can make your content go viral on YouTube versus how you can make your content go viral on LinkedIn? Any difference, or it's more or less the same, or maybe it's irrelevant question?
Well, again, what we focus on is process. So our process again starts with research and insight. So we dissect and understand what is working, why it's working, and what is not working, and why it's not working on each platform independently, which then informs the direction and decisions that we go in. Yes, each platform is distinctly different. The algorithms are different, the content's different, the consumption behavior is different. And that's why we base our entire process on the fundamental understanding of constantly studying what works and what doesn't work to inform our creative decisions.
Okay, so now moving back onto your model, which is your predictive viral content model. In that, you have one of the key aspect to it is to create a network of viral masterminds, right? I was wondering how that can help to create viral content.
Yeah, so basically you can't really create viral content in a vacuum, especially if you're just starting out. If you don't have the expertise, your team doesn't have the expertise, you can get caught in this hamster wheel of not really understanding what to look at it, how to look at it. So that's why, you know, our company is we hire and train people in this process so that we have a team of people that are constantly collaborating and talking about these things. So that's where we created a private community called Viral Trends to give people access to our viral mastermind of content experts. But that's not where we stop. A lot of my time is constantly connecting with other content creators in the space, understanding what they're doing, how it's working, and exchanging information and constantly learning. So I would say that a lot of people, again, they're creating content in a vacuum and they're not extending their expertise and knowledge and constantly evolving and growing in the space.
So having a mastermind will sort of help them create something better, or I don't know, still.
Well, it's kind of that analogy is like you're as good as the 5 people you surround yourself the most with. So it's like if you're going to constantly surround yourself with people that are at the same level as you at social media, are you really going to break through and grow?
Yeah.
The same principle here. It's why we've created, you know, because we've just seen, I just talked a lot about research and insights. We have seen even training people in how to do research and insights, they don't do it. It's either they're too busy, they don't have the knowledge, or they don't have the desire to do it. So that's why we are dedicating a big percentage of our time of creating this access point for people to be a part of our viral mastermind, where we are breaking down our latest research and insights, allowing them to ask questions so that they can extend that network to people that are living and breathing this every day.
Okay, so let's move on to the content that you create and how important to have your originality in your content. And I remember reading somewhere on one of the slides that I got about your work is originality trumps functionality, and what exactly that means. Is it like I personally thought my take on it is if I'm creating something really original, something my content altogether, it should connect with my audiences because I'm just being myself. How you can make it go viral if it is not? Is it a good strategy at all, first of all?
Well, I think you need to be cautious with the word originality, because what does that actually mean? What is original to you may not be original to a million people. And like, again, this goes into the context of how you're expressing your originality. So to give you a prime example of thinking about movies, I'm sure everybody listening to this has watched movies. Well, the interesting thing is 9 out of 10 movies, maybe 99% of movies all follow the same structure. They follow a 3 act structure. There's an inciting incident. There's a plot twist. There's the plot point 1, plot point 2, point 3, climaxes, um, hero's journey. They're all pretty much following the same structure and character development. However, within that, there is a lot of originality, you could say, in terms of how they're using that structure. And that's the difference between you sitting down and watching a movie and saying that is the best movie I've seen versus that is the worst movie I've seen. It's because of the context of how they're using this structure and format. So I think people get caught up so much in this concept of originality, and they don't even really know what that means. And they're trying to be original for the sake of being original, instead of how can I actually effectively get my point across. And, going back to the generalist principle, how do I make the average person care to what I'm talking about? Because you also mentioned something interesting, is like, I just want to share something with my specific audience. Well, the challenge is you're not going to reach your specific audience if you can't make it accessible to the general audience, because, like it or not, you're competing against Netflix, you're competing against ESPN or Kevin Hart telling a joke or Kim Kardashian, because your audience is engaging with all of these other content creators.
So what went viral today will not go viral tomorrow, which is a great line. How do you predict virality? Is it even possible to predict?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the way that we kind of think about it is about increasing your hit rate. So the average person may never go viral, or maybe they go viral 1 out of 100 times. So with our process, the goal is, well, how can you go viral 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times? So it's really, again, going back to the research and insights, is knocking out a lot of things that you can waste your time and energy on that actually aren't going to lead to the results that you have, and really dial in the performance drivers, those nuances, the context around your content that increase your level of chances of getting your content to work, to get that reach and distribution to your followers and beyond.
So let's talk about specifically for YouTube. The YouTube has a description and title and thumbnail and everything. How much of role even today, I've heard that if you write keywords in your YouTube videos, the algorithm is kind of discarding it, not taking into consideration anymore. Is it the same with the description that you write, or still it has some role to play? And the reason I'm asking is because YouTube is so smart that whatever you're talking in your video, it actually creates a script of it, yeah, automatically, and it keeps the entire script, whatever you've said. So if you write something in the description, is it going to add some value, or it's just kind of gimmick?
Well, this way, it probably adds some value. Is it a determining factor between your content going viral and not going viral? I would say no, because it's a tactic. It's not, again, these platforms are looking for quality content. I hesitate to say quality, because quality is a very general term that can mean many different things. They are looking for content that plays to their business goals. They're looking for content that grabs attention and holds attention. So in the example of YouTube, they are looking for content, and most traffic of YouTube's videos and videos going viral is from suggested videos, not from search. So, typically they're looking at the thumbnail and headline, the click-through percentage on that, and then what that retention graph looks like in terms of when they click on that thumbnail and headline, how long are they watching for? So writing that description may lend itself to allowing the algorithms to find the best videos to test it in the suggested video section. But just because you write a description, it's not going to take a poorly constructed piece of content, meaning if the thumbnail and headline aren't dialed in and the click-through percentage is not there, or people do click on it, but they don't watch for a period of time, just because you wrote a description does not yield it to going viral. And that's a big mistake, that most people are focusing on these tactics of, oh, do I play to SEO? Do I do descriptions? Do I use hashtags? What time of day? How many times do I post? Where maybe 10 years ago, when there's less content on the platform, those things were more important. But today it's really your ability to be a storyteller. Like Mr. Beast is the biggest, influencer on the planet at this point. And it's not because he focused on the right tactics, the right time of day, or using the right meta tags and keywords. It's because he perfected his ability to tell amazing stories. And he perfected the elements, the performance drivers that we talked about at a very nuanced level that makes him one of the best storytellers on the planet. And it's the same thing if, again, the analogy of movies, the difference between a Christopher Nolan, a Martin Scorsese, or just some random film school student. They all both have access to the same structure, the same equipment, but one has really understood the nuances of what it takes to tell an effective story through a movie, to develop characters and those elements that sets a movie apart from being amazing versus, a horrible one.
So let's dissect that for a minute. So there are 6 ways that you mentioned about how you communicate your story and message. I think they were like facts and imagination and fun, value, action, feeling, those ones. So can you tell us a little bit more about how your story structure should be? How much of facts should be in there? How much of story? How much of everything else?
Yeah, so you're referencing to a communication algorithm that we use in our work, and it's based on a data set of over 1.5 million communication assessments done worldwide. And what it's essentially doing is breaking down the 6 different ways that people perceive your content, your message, your communication. And it's all broken down from a mathematical formula. So the largest subset of the population is feeling based. It's 30%. So they're connecting with content based upon how it emotionally makes them feel. So they're making decisions. Am I going to share this? Am I going to follow this? Am I going to buy from this person? If they emotionally connect with it. The second subset of the population, the second largest, is fact-based. So for them, it's not about emotional connection. It's about, does this make sense? They want to know data, timeframes, who, what, when, where, why. That's how they make decisions. The third largest is fun. So again, it's not emotionally connecting. It doesn't have to make sense. They just want it to be fun. They want it to be exciting. And like, it's, if you think about the friends you have, they're always like, this is amazing. This sucks. Like, they're always very reactive to things. And then there's 10% that's values and opinions. So it's about, can I trust this brand? Are they dedicated to me? Are they committed? 10% is reflective base. So if you think about Albert Einstein, the stories about him is he would spend hours on end reflecting on everything that he was learning. And that's how he came up with his best idea. So these people are often staring out into windows, staring off into space to reflect on everything happening around them. And then the smallest 5% is action-based. They're moving fast. They want the bottom line. They want the best. If you think about Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, he's not thinking, he's not feeling, he's not talking about values. He's jumping off of buildings. He's hanging outside of planes. He's just going, going, going. So we take this into consideration when we're constructing stories or constructing content or ads to ensure that we connect with the largest subset of the population. Because we as content creators have communication strengths in this model. So we have access to all 6, and we have some that are our strengths and some that are weaknesses. But for example, one of my base is facts. If I just talk about facts and logic the entire time, it's only reaching 25% of the population, and it can disconnect from 75% of the population. So we need to be conscious of our communication patterns and ensuring that we're diversifying it from a contextual level to ensure that we are having success. So to kind of like solidify this, I'll give you an analogy. We worked with Keller Williams, one of the largest real estate companies in the world. And we did an analysis on how real estate agents sell homes on social media. And they typically follow all the same pattern. Is they list the house and they say this house has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms on an acre of land. So what is that? That's facts. That's 25% of the population. So you're disconnecting from 75%. So how would I take this content that is a home and contextualize it in these 6 different ways? Well, I can start again with the fact-based side and saying this home has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and an acre of land. And imagine your family sitting around this fireplace on Christmas Eve. How is that going to make you feel when your family's all together? You feel super connected. You're opening presents. Everybody has a smile on their face. And did you check out the pool in the backyard? You are going to have the craziest and funnest parties, and all of your neighbors are going to be super jealous. And I fundamentally believe that this is a great house for you because it's in the best school district. But I highly recommend that you move fast now, because people are going to really take advantage of this. So will you schedule a viewing with me? So again, I didn't change the content of the house. I just contextualize it subtly in these different ways so that I make sure that I don't disconnect or alienate a specific percentage of the population.
What kind of content did you research for this framework? I really liked it. And it looks like if I can have feeling, facts, imagination, value, and action in my speech or any story that I'm creating, I have a lot of coverage. But I think the ratio that you mentioned, like feeling 30%, in facts 25% versus fun 20%. So there might be what kind of content you research for this. So let's say if you take a cat video. Now, cat video it may have some feeling, but it's mainly fun, right? So is
Yeah, well, it can be subtle. Like, so we can talk the fat or the cat video, for example, is it could be a funny cat video, but at the same time, that funny cat video can make you feel fun or make you feel good because the cat's super cute.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, I did everything with the house in terms of speech, but literally you could be doing a video and maybe fun is expressed in the background. So for example, like right now you have books in your background, but maybe it replaces with like toys or, like colorful elements or things. So it can be expressed in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be all language. But a perfect homework assignment for people out there is to watch the Pixar movie Inside Out. So Pixar, and it's going to be subtle, and don't watch it for the content. Look at it from this level, but Pixar uses this communication algorithm in all of their script writing and ads. And if you don't have time to watch Inside Out, you can just watch the trailer and you can start getting a sense of it. But it's a great example, and it's one of the reasons Pixar is so successful is because they're intelligently structuring their characters based on this. Now, certain characters may embody multiple versions or go through different transformations, but they are represented there.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched Inside Out, and it is one of the best animation movie I've watched.
Yeah, and a big part of that is because you probably found a character too that you super connect with, and I'm sure you could find somebody else say, "I love that movie too," but they liked another character more,
Yes.
And that's what makes them so successful.
So I think Brendan, this structure, I'm just showing the screenshot of this here, is really, really very good. And it's not just the content that you're creating to publish on social media. There are a lot of people on my channel who are public speakers, and one of the big struggle that they have is to write a good, compelling speech. I think this will work because it covers all sort of different people, feeling and fun, and you're kind of connecting to different senses that people grasp things and experience your messages. So I think I'm going to put it here, and it's really going to be very useful, and I totally loved it. Okay, so there is a bit of context to it, so people can kind of, this is just a guideline, right? This is your research, this is a data. It might not be, you might not have 30% of feelings, you might have more of, let's say, 20% values and 20%.
Well, yeah, each person's different.
Exactly.
So, but this is a representation of the general population.
Yeah.
So again, you as an individual, your percentage is going to be different. Each individual's percentage is going to be different. But the representation of the general population follows those percentages. So each person has their strengths and weaknesses. That's why when we work with clients, we have them take the communication assessment, so we get a very clear idea of where their strengths and weaknesses lie, so that we can help craft them a communication strategy to ensure that it's not alienating a big percentage of the population.
Okay, Brendan, not everybody can hire you to help them to create viral content, and you have given quite a lot of value so far already to how to create something that can go viral. But is there something else that you would want to share with the people who people can use on their own, some tips to maybe have something amazing on their media?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off is we have made a private community that is very affordable, that they can go to goviral.hookpoint.com,
okay,
where again, every week we have a private mastermind where we're breaking down the latest content creator, viral format, viral brand, and sharing our research. But I would say beyond that, if they choose not to go down that road, is just be conscious. And when you use social media, be active, not passive. If you see something that is viral, that has gotten millions of views, try and understand what is the difference between this piece of content and a piece of content in the same genre that got a few thousand views. So I would say that is just one thing is to take away is just, the blessing and the curse of social media is anybody can open up a phone. All of us can open up a phone, and with the click of a button, we can publish something.
Indeed.
But the curse of that is there's 4 other billion people that have the same power. So just because you have the power to create content doesn't mean that you are going to automatically go viral. There is a lot of nuance of getting good at that. Sure, there's people that luck into it, but those are few and far between. It's kind of like playing the lottery. So if you really want to engineer it, you've got to learn to become an effective storyteller. And the beautiful thing is all of the answers are available to us for free on these platforms, is that they are there in the people that are having success.
Yeah.
It's just you need to learn how to read between the lines of what's causing it.
And I think your first part was creating a mastermind will help you, 1, doing a research, what is trending, what is not, 2, creating a compelling content, and 3, giving you feedback.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I never thought about it in this perspective, but what are universities? I mean, they're masterminds. What you do is you get into a room with a teacher that is hopefully an expert, with other people, and you learn together in this environment to master this skill or master this subject level. You don't go to a university and sit in a classroom by yourself the entire time, because then, you're just reading a book on your own and you're not really growing as a person. Can you still learn? Sure. But the purpose of that setting is to collaboratively get better at something, to understand something.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies in this medium. It's no different than anything else.
Yeah. Okay. So Brendan, this was really, really useful. And there is one question that I asked you last time also, which I asked in all my interviews. And I'm going to ask it again. So let's see if your answers have changed, right? So the question was, what, according to you, are the top 3 skills that one should have in order to be happy and successful, but schools are not teaching?
I think mindset is a big one. And I'm not going to say no schools teach it. I haven't seen a school teach it, but just mindset from, because, and the reason I say mindset is there's a clear delineation between clients that have success and don't have success with us. And it's purely a mindset perspective. Are you open and willing to change the way that you've been doing things, or open to looking at things in a different way? And some, I would say, schools maybe foster that through culture. But a lot of the schools, the traditional schools that I went to, didn't really foster that. It's like, this is what it is. Take it for what it is and don't think outside the box with it. So I think really ingraining people with the proper mindset for success, overcoming obstacles, overcoming challenges, being open and adaptive to different ways of thinking, different ways of looking at things, is critically important. I think that also really effective communication is another one. Sure, most people have communication classes and things like that, but it's more about, speaking and less about listening. It's like, how do you learn how to be an effective listener, to read between the lines of what people are saying so that you can respond intelligently, both from an emotional level and a subject level in terms of what you're saying. And then the other one that I would say is, I would think, encouraging people or teaching people how to learn on their own. And yes, in some ways they're teaching you how to learn, but and this is the one problem that I had with school, is it's all about, you have to learn chemistry, you have to learn math, you have to do these things, and these are things, these are the books you should read and things. But I would love to see a course or some programming of inspiring people to learn how to learn. Like, how do you go and find information that inspires you, motivates you? Should I go buy a course? Should I listen to a podcast? Should I buy a book, or things? And fostering that curiosity and seeing ways that people can extend their communication beyond, or their learning process beyond the the classroom. Because I think so many people go through the process of college and higher education, and then they feel like they're done.
Yeah, I think you said that last time also, learning how to learn. And the other two are communication, effective communication, that just not speaking, but also listening. And the first one was about growth mindset. So thank you very much for sharing that, Brendan, once again. And finally, how can people reach you?
Yeah, as I mentioned, a good place to start is to go viral.hookpoint.com. If they want to engage with our team directly, they can go to hookpoint.com. I also respond to direct messages on Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Brandon. I really learned a lot in this interview. Thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Guys, if you're looking to learn more about how to make your content go viral, then I'll put all the links that Brandon has spoken about in the description section. And if you have got some value from this interview so far today, then this is time to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. I will see you again next week. Until then, you take care and keep learning.